So hopefully this kind of works out. Apologize for the light. We're gonna do this outside. It's sitting on the deck, I guess. I'm gonna film it on my tablet. I'm gonna read questions off my phone. This is the answers to the July question and answer series. It's July 14th, 15th. What is it? 81 degrees out. Hot and humid. The way it's been lately, but I'll get these pulled up. The reason I do it this way is, like I mentioned before, I can't do a live stream. I just don't have the capabilities to do that. And so this way, everybody gets to hear the answers if you watch it. We'll try to make this as fast as we can, so it's not forever. And capabilities to do live stream. And so let's go down through the list. We'll just start off at the top of the thing. Larson Valley Farm, northern Wisconsin farming. With finishing beef steers, what's best? Steer stuffer with ground feed and free choice hay, or do TMR, small operation, 25 to 40 steers. I would steer stuffer is fine. I would not put a round bale of hay in there though. I would feed them small square hay, because what happens is they're gonna go back and forth between the self feed. A steer stuffer is just a self feeder for everybody. It's just common. It's just slang, I guess if you want to call it. So if you did a ground feed in a steer stuffer or a self feeder, I would give them 3 or 4 pounds of small square bale hay a day, like in a feed bunk tire or in a feed bunk. Because if you put a round bale feeder out there and a self feeder out there, they're gonna rotate back and forth, and that's when you end up with acidosis and issues. That's where the TMR, it mixes it all together. They get the same thing every day. Now with 25 to 40 steers, I will challenge you this, and to anybody else, we do still, and we did, we bucket feed 60 steers a day with 5-gallon buckets, because our bunks, we can't get into them with the TMR wagon. And so it's just basically wood bunks, ground feed or mixed corn feed with a supplement, and then we put hay and tires. So you don't need to be real fancy about everything. I would actually advocate doing it that way, is to line your bunks up and mix feed in a wagon, or grind and mix in a wagon, and then just 5-gallon bucket to them. That's 25 to 40 steers will eat 25 to 40 buckets of feed a day when they're on full feed. It's a lot of feed, but you can control their intake. And then 25 to 40 steers would eat basically maybe about 3 small square bales of hay a day. So that's we fed a lot of cattle that way before we got numbers. Basically, the TMR wagon just solves some labor issues. So that's really no big deal. We feed a bunch of all of our grower calves nowadays are fed round bale rings, and then 5-gallon bucket feed. We do cheat. We do mix the feed with the TMR wagon, but then we dump it back out on the ground, and that in the shed, and then that's our grinder mixer, so to say. So for that many cattle, I would. And there's flies bugging. I would just stick with a self feeder if you have one, but bunk feeding is still the best way. And there's really no reason to get a TMR wagon for that many cattle, because then you just end up with more expenses. And I'll explain. Somebody else asked some question later, but about TMR wagons, and it just all depends on what you're feeding too. If you're feeding, it becomes economics, but I would just stick with the a self feeder or feed bunks for that many head. Leo, how's the goats going and how's skid steer going? The goats are doing great. The goats actually make more money than the cows do. Looking to expand the goat herd. When and where and how, I don't know exactly at the moment. The skid steer is going strong, 2,600 hours or something on it. Maybe looking to trade it this summer yet, but we'll see how it goes. Our only problem with it is our tires are all wore out now. Michigan farming. If you were going to buy another tractor, what would you buy? I don't know. And what would be your next equipment purchase? As far as equipment, I don't really need anything other than if I got into some row crop equipment, a corn planter or a disc or a cultimulcher. It's kind of some things that are on my back of my head, but nothing for sure. Another tractor. Turbo is behind me chewing on something, but that's a ask me some other day what I want. I would like to get a 1066 International. There's another question that we'll kind of add on to that, but as far as an older tractor, a 1066 is kind of what my next thing maybe would be, or a 1026 Hydro or a International 100 Hydro. And the reason for the Hydro is because of the clutch issues feeding. And I gotta drink my tea slash Pepsi slash lemon lime juice. That's what you always see in the tractor. James O'Brien, do you ever reseed grass pasture? Yes and no. I guess we interseed it, so we don't technically tear something up and start over yet. We have re-drilled red clover and timothy and other grasses into them. Where we've been tearing stuff up, and I'm sorry I'm squinting. I'm not used to not wearing sunglasses. When you start wearing them, I had to end up wearing them 365 days a year. But anyway, where we put corn and where we've been putting sorghum, we're gonna start. And I say we, me, myself, and I, and Dad, and my parents, etc. We might start putting some of that back into grass pasture, just for kind of a rotation. But we have not physically started over on anything yet. Ted Kaler, using the grading bins in the yard. You can see in the back the picture of that. Those are rented out to somebody else that rents the rest of the. This farm is more acres than I have. Somebody else rents the remaining acres, and they've always rented them, so that's why they get this. But they use the grain bins. Vesser Cattle Co. I apologize if I mess anybody's names up. Where do you want to be in 5 years? Cattle feeding out, equipment, more property, etc. Thanks for your channel, and thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting. I'd like to be in a I guess a easier place, as in need to get some things straightened out here now, just financial and stuff, and just be in a more. As far as cattle, I would like to expand my feeding operation. Equipment, we've got what we need, and most of it is all new enough. so we don't need really any of that. More property, if it's available, yes, but economics, I can make more money feeding cattle than farming because I've got the equipment to feed cattle. So basically, I'd like to expand my cattle feeding, the cattle feeding side of this. I guess that's my goals over the next 5 years. Small town farmer. I've seen past videos you feeding adult tractor tires. How better do they freeze to the ground, and how they do stick to the ground, but if you got a big enough skid steer or a tractor, they'll pop out unless they're like buried in mud. They're not that hard to. And the best thing is actually if you get them in a row, and if you're actually feeding with a tractor or something, and they freeze in the mud, that's the best thing in the world, because then they stay in the row. Because the cows like to move them around, the bulls are the worst. That's why we don't feed our bulls in our in tires anymore, because they'll never be in the same spot twice. Massey 1105 driver, do you grow any corn for silage or buy it all? We used to buy it. It's when you can't chop it yourself or grow it yourself, so you're paying retail price on everything. It becomes not economical. When you're this close to, for me, I'm close enough to byproducts. Corn gluten, etc. And I have a lot of corn stalks, and I have the capabilities to grind them and mix them, which is the reason we have a TMR wagon, is because we kind of need it to mix corn stalks, grind corn stalks. We can make our own corn silage cheaper than we can grow it. We do have the corn that I planted this year. Original intention was to chop it for silage. That's still a possibility, but the other possibility or thing is we'll combine it for grain and sell the grain, or grain bank it and feed it, and then we'll harvest the corn stalks off of it, and then we'll plant it in rye, etc. But corn silage is really expensive to grow. It does make a lot of feed off a limited number of acres, but it's not as cheap as everybody thinks it is. All right. Hingen Farms going to replace the 44. It was a 6112 at Emily Sup. The 44, yes, we'll probably replace that. She's just tired out. She needs to go to a different place that isn't going to use it for 1,000 hours a year. We'll see how that turns out. But the 44 is probably going to... Nothing's in the works at the moment, but kind of is. So to say, but I'm looking to replace that. With what? I don't know. The M lease is up January 2020. So I got one more year. I got to finish this year, and then the lease starts in January, so there'll be 2019 will be the last year we have it. And then what we're going to do with it next, I don't know. Got two options. I get rid of it or buy it back and get a different one. And if we get a different one, we might get one size bigger. Or we might just let her go. Or if I'm going to buy a used one, I will buy it back. Because I know the history on it. Because I've used it for every hour. Stormin Normans. When you rotation the graze, how often do you move the cows, weekly or daily? All of our paddocks are set up for about once a week. We do have some that are set up for about every 3 days. We do not move daily because I don't have time to do it daily. Weekly works out great because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 different pastures that are all set up for rotational grazing. So somehow it's light, I don't know. But somehow, but anyway, we move them out once a week. So basically every pasture has a 5-day rotation on them. or five week rotation, or 5 paddocks. So it takes, so if they're in one paddock, it takes 4 weeks or so to get back around. So that's how they work. And for beef cows, that's about enough, or sufficient enough. It's not like a dairy cow, etc. Nick Personier, she just left a general comment. He owns a little piece of ground and rents some. That's how you get started, and then the rest will follow. But thank you for watching. Um, Young Gun Farmer, what EPDs do you look for in bulls? We're mostly maternal and carcass traits, so kind of moderate birth weights in their bulls, and then kind of average or above on milk and wean weights, and then ribeye and yield grade, quality grade on the carcass end of it. And Turbo, where'd you go? Turbo likes to disappear when he's not supervised. He's back. But back to the EPDs. It's basically kind of specifics are all herd specific. It's what your goals are. We tend to say with the moderate birth weights, then we don't have calving issues. We can kind of breed our heifers to any bull we want to. And since we're basically raising cows, milk EPDs, weaning weight EPDs, and we kind of push the high end of the milk because our cows don't milk real well. I didn't say real well, but we could use more milk in them because we, moderate, because we have feed resources. So that's kind of that. And then since we do sell most of the cattle as fats, the carcass traits make a big difference for us. But we try to kind of just stick in the middle of the road. We don't, and we try to use if we do AI, and we use older bulls, probably like 10-year-old bulls that are high accuracy bulls. We don't use a lot of new young stuff because their accuracies are low. And so when we buy herd bulls, we're also buying herd bulls that are that they're sired by older bulls that have high accuracy levels. So their EPDs tend to be accurate. But we kind of stay in the middle of the road. That's always been the best. Everybody always says that's the best thing, which actually is true. Don't chase fads of going extreme this, extreme that. We have with birth weights, we found. I'm assuming since you knew, I asked what EPDs, you kind of know what EPDs are. Like on Angus, for heifers, we will not go below a 0 on birth weight because that's just too light for us. But that all depends on what kind of cows you have. And always, the cow is half the genetics. Because I know a lot of people that will breed a cow to a Cavanese bull and have a 100-pound calf. Well, the cow's birth weight was 150 pounds. So you always got to remember that. That's why we always kind of stick in the middle. Midwest Alice fan. Cheap creep feed mixture to go with free range pasture, less than 5 steers. Around here, the cheapest thing would be to get a we have our local feed companies sell bagged creep feed that you feed for calves. It's a pelleted feed. That'll cost less than grind and mixing. For five head of calves, it's not worth. Unless you got your own feed, then corn, oats, and then like 10%. 10% of the mix being a protein supplement. So basically, the cheapest thing would be just to buy like a 14% creep feed from your feed elevator or the feed store or wherever. And then with 5 steers, I would kind of hand feed it to them. Don't fill a creep feeder up because you'll have a wet mess. Tennessee Hillbilly, do you believe the feeder market is going to rebound as some are predicting? If I knew that, I wouldn't tell you, so I could bank on it, but I have no idea. The trade issues and all that stuff is, every day is different, and that's the whole problem with any of it. And you can't I don't know what to say on that. Jonathan Shihan, what's the story on those extra international tractors in the background? I kind of did that on purpose just to see who would comment on that. The one way down, you have to go back and look if you really want to. The one way down below is my 9, which is on our hay rake. The one that was hiding behind the bins is the people who rent the bins. They had a grain back on because they were hauling beans out, and that is also a 966. And then the one that was like kind of like right behind me with another rake on it was my neighbor's. It's a 656 with the side rake on it. We were trying to re-rake some hay that got rained on, so I borrowed it from him. But that's the story behind those 3 of them. And then Mark Groth, also kind of the same thing. I spot the 3 international tractors in your yard. What's up with that? Yeah, the 966 was at summer camp. Summer camp was over by then, by the time I did this video. The 966, we have a 3-point mower. One of our landlords needed a 3-point mower to mow some waterways because he didn't want to trample over all of his corn with his big mower. And then we also had a pasture we wanted to shred. That we had a lot of fence work and timber tree work done last year, so there's like a lot of weeds, and I wanted to mow that off. And the thing is, you can't get into those pastures really with a cab tractor, and I didn't want to tear the M up, etc. So we kind of just traded some labor. So the 9 was gone for a week or 10 days, but kind of on vacation. It did easy work, I guess, so to say. Jonathan Sheehan, I guess, yeah, another question he asked. What advice do you have someone looking to get into cow farming full time? Just do it. If you have a place to do it, just go buy some calves. That's the fastest way to learn. If you wait till the market is right, you'll never get in. Start with a number that you're comfortable with, or a dollar amount you're comfortable with, that you can either float with savings or off-farm job or whatever, or however. But that's the best way, is just to go for it. Because if you just sit around and wait, you'll never do it. And that's the short answer of it. So if you got a place to put some cattle, get some cattle. What you get, it's all depends on where you're from, really. Be happy to answer more questions. But the short of it is just to go buy some. That's the fastest way to learn. So it's just kind of what you're comfortable with financially. And then Corona Cartel, he had a lot of questions, which is good. Cattle tools, meds, bale tying specs. What's the most standard tool, or what on your wish list for farm? Health work, time savers. What kind of a working chute to catch cattle? Meds is a loaded question. We use all kinds of stuff. Bale tying specs, I don't know. It's like whatever somebody has. What I like is the the pallet fork configuration, not the single spikes, because the pallet fork ones we can use that for loading and unloading pallets. Wish list, not exactly sure yet. Time savers, the hay buster has been a real time saver for bedding. Did you pour Lee Marchant asked if I poured supplement on bales this winter? No, I did not. We were using a QLF feed. And what we did this winter was we mixed them with hay and wet gluten. The supplement does work, but it is expensive. But we had enough hay this year, and the gluten was cheap enough that we just did it that way. What do we use for fly control? Hilton Family Farm. Synergis Pyrethrum, something we get from a local farm store. For cows about once a month, if we need to. And we also use the Altosoid or something in the mineral that controls the horn flies. But then we basically maybe pour them once a month, which is the stuff you get at the farm store, and that seems to work best. It's cheap, and it actually works better than anything else. There's no need to get it real fancy on any of that. Mute Madeline, he's from Romania. He's like my probably farthest away subscriber. If you consider zero grazing, or do you have enough land? But what he means by that is just dry lot feeding cattle or cows. And yes and no, it all depends on the market. When cattle were feeder calves were $1,400 a calf off the cow, yeah, you could afford to feed them. When they're not, you can't afford to feed nothing. In general, around here, there's been a trend to hoop barns for cows and confinement cows, just because of land. Because land got turned into corn when corn was $8. All corn is like $3 now. It's kind of just stick to what you're doing, I guess, is probably the biggest advice. And I guess I'm getting old because that's what everybody always has told me, and I'm starting to believe that now. We do probably feed our cows more than most people do because we don't have a lot of grazing land. We can summer graze them, but we can't really winter graze them. And the reality is, like now, with the way the cattle market is now, we better off just feeding calves, buying calves and feeding them. But it's kind of a balancing act. So basically, it's a balancing act of how many cows you have and what land resources you have. And what I've basically concluded in my experience is we'll have enough cows that we can utilize our permanent pasture acres, and then the rest of it we'll put into feedlot cattle. And then also, if another brand of tractor was in your area, dealer support, etc. We do have John Deere, Case International, and New Holland, all within 20 miles, and all are very good dealers. We do have about as much red equipment as we do John Deere equipment when you consider the skid steer, etc. And New Holland, yeah, we do have the John Deere M and the 4430. We also have the International 966, the Case skid steer, New Holland mower conditioner and hay rake, Kuhn Knight, manure spreader, and feed wagon. So yes, we do have a variety of equipment. It's basically what we're used to. I would consider I have no problem getting a Case International tractor. A New Holland tractor, which is, I guess, is the same thing, but My best friend has one, and so I can't be like him. So, uh, but basically, the economics of all that stuff is the same. You pay more for a John Deere, but you get less for a John Deere when you trade in. You pay less for a red tractor or a blue tractor, and you get less when you trade them in. So basically, the difference is all kind of the same. It's just kind of what you're used to and who you're used to working with. And yes, if like a Deutz or something, it would take a long time for any of those to become popular or around here, just because they haven't been around here forever. So, and there's some other generic brands, but the dealer support and the reputation of them are not here. So that's why we stick with what we got. And like I said, our John Deere dealer is 6 miles away, and we've called them more than once in the middle of the night, not in the middle of the night, but after hours, and they're more than willing to work with us to get us up and going. No rice. When are you gonna purchase the farm? Well, it's not for sale, so I guess that. Why did you want to become a farmer? I don't know. That's all I ever wanted to do. I grew up farming background, and that's all I wanted to do. And I realized I couldn't do it on my because I didn't have anything to go home to when I graduated high school. Then I figured out, well, I could go farm for somebody else, as in manage somebody else's farm. And so that's how I got started. Was after college, I started as a herdsman or farm manager for this farm that I'm at now. And then when they retired, then I took over part of it, and that's how I got started. But I always just wanted to do it. I think that's what you kind of anybody that does what they wanted that they do just wants. That's how you get into it. Prestamon, how did you decide to go with Limousin Black Angus cross bulls for your operation? We started out with I guess that was the first bulls we bought were Limousin bulls. We had Angus cows. Bought Limousin bulls to go on them. Then I found a really good Limousin Angus bull supplier. They run 600 plus cows. They treat us right. The last several bulls we bought have all been sight unseen. We own a semen interest on one of their top selling bulls that we've used. They're just really good people to work with. The Limousin they're a moderate type cattle. Their birth weight, the calves are born skinny, scrawny, and light. And we bred heifers to Limousin bulls and had no problems. Then they grow, and they're supposed to be the most feed efficient cattle. The Limousin are. Well, that's true or not, I don't know. But they just work for us, and then we just stick with that. It just keeps it simple, and then basically what we're trying to breed is end up with a 3/4 Angus, quarter Limousin calf. So basically our cows are kind of like half bloods, and then we kind of use bulls that are plus or minus that, or cows are 3/4. We do use some Angus bulls. Most of that is now just via AI. But we try just to end up like kind of a 3/4 Angus, quarter Limousin. So it's basically an Angus with a hybrid kick to them. So they kind of they look just like an Angus, but they grow better than an Angus. KCCRB. Oh, and back to the other. We do have some Simmental Angus cows that we've had, but they were show cattle, and some Maine Angus cows. We still have some of them. That's kind of a little different project, but our main focus is the Limousin Angus, and most of our herd bulls now or all of our herd bulls are. We have one or two Angus bulls, but the rest of them are all probably half to 3/4 Angus, and the balance is Limousin. Between the cow calf and feeding operation, which is more profitable? And if you had to choose one way to go, which would you be and why? Feed yard. We don't have enough acres to support cows. Enough cows. It's we have more feed yard capacity than we do cow capacity to a point. We can run more feed yard cattle than we can cows. We do kind of have enough room for X number of cows, X number of calves, but we could put more feed yard cattle. The cow calf side is it's like owning farm ground. If you own the cow, it's less. It costs, you don't have as much. But also, if you could take that same money and buy feeder calves, and so you still own the calves. So you buy high, sell high, buy low, or sell low, buy low. But the feed yard is actually my most profitable. And if we're kind of refocusing some of that and doing more feedlot cattle, and feedlot cattle are a lot less. There's a lot less labor into them. One person can go through and feed them, and you're done for the day. Instead of cows, during calving time is just so labor intensive that it's makes feed yard cattle a lot easier. Because feed yard cattle we can be done in a couple hours every day, and then that's the end of it. And send them in, send them out, and nowadays you can buy cattle online or over the telephone and sell them over the telephone and load them, and you're done. Farm Boy 0629. Did you trade the 44 for two red ones? No. But I probably could. Oh, then Corona Cartel asked again, what does you hey, he's got a lot of questions, which is good. Basically, we feed bed all manure every day, and then now that we're in hay season, somebody's got to go make hay. And custom cattle sheets, we do our own. We write down everything we do. We don't have any government policies, I guess, just per se, that we had to really keep track. But Dan Leach, I seen a mobile home in some of the videos. In the old videos, that's where I used to live when I managed the farm. When I was a herdsman here. Since then, I've moved to the house, and the trailer house has been sold. That was the landlord's, but they sold that, and that's where the goats live now, and we call that the trailer park, because that's where the trailer used to be, and that's where we park all our trailers, kind of down there. Because all of our yards have a name, because Dad helps me, so then everybody knows where we're talking about. Main farm, do you ever sell Angus bull calves or bull yearlings for breeding stock? Yes, we do sell bulls. Maybe 5 or 6 a year. Mostly 2-year-olds. We'll use them as yearlings, and then we'll sell them as 2-year-olds because they're not born early enough for our market. Because everyone's a January bull, ours are born in April, and then I don't like to feed them, to get them up to that. So we usually will sell them as 2-year-olds, but they're basically Limousin Angus bulls. They're all black, but we do sell some bulls. That's why we kind of have a lot of bulls, but half of them disappear. D. Thomas, do you have a cow calf operation? Yes, we do. Would you ever get into hogs? No. I spent 10 years working in confinement hog buildings, loading hogs. if I got into hogs, it'd be for a specialty market, like 2 sows, Berkshire sows that we'd sell pigs to privately. Would you lease new equipment? Yes, the 6125M is a leased tractor, and we are looking possibility of leasing a John Deere skid steer. That's yet to come. That's in the works. Why John Deere? Why not? Doesn't hurt to ask people. So we're asking our John Deere guy because we're looking at trading balers as well because it's time to trade the baler. Thanks for the videos. Thanks for watching. What part of the world are you in? United States, Iowa. And then there's a couple. So for a bonus, for all of you that have stayed tuned to here, the flies are starting to bug. Happens you live in a feed yard. There was one other question I was. Oh, and thanks, guys. The knee high by 4th of July. That's kind of what I'd heard, but thanks for commenting on that. Basically, yes, if your corn was knee high by the 4th of July, it would make something. There was one other question that showed up on my. I have a YouTube studio on my phone, which basically shows all the questions as they show up, so I don't have to go. It shows all the questions like on any video that I've ever made. As somebody, so if somebody watches a video that I made a year ago, it'll show up, today, so I don't have to go look at it. Somebody asked a question, kind of. In regards to some other YouTube people and why they act that way, I don't know. I guess I stay out of it, and I don't watch a lot of. I watch several of you guys that do make videos. I do watch your videos, but I tend to just make my videos that I make them the way you see them. Mostly me just chatting away and telling how I do stuff. Why people do stuff, I don't know. For views, and that's what makes them I don't know, happy. And I guess the worst part is it's the people who watch them is they're just as much to blame. But I don't care. People watch my videos, great. I watch people's videos. I don't watch other people's videos. It's all whatever you like to watch, etc. Everybody has their own opinion, their own way of doing things. If they had to drag other people into it, then that's beside the point. But basically, everybody kind of would know who I'm referring to, and there's no point of bringing it up because it's beside the point. Because that's why I don't mention it. I don't make videos about it because it's not worth my time. But anyway, so that's the extent of this series of questions. Any follow-up questions, feel free to ask them, and I'll respond in the comments. But I greatly appreciate everybody who watches my videos and likes to learn how I do things, I guess. That's all my point. I'm not saying I'm right, but this is how I do stuff and why I do stuff, or my reasons behind it. If I could be of any click somebody's mind to thinking that might be a good idea, or that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. That's kind of what my point is. So that's kind of my point of this is, and I appreciate that. All our videos are kind of just a video log, one day after another, every couple days. Our sorghum Sudan grass is up. It doesn't look real good yet. We'll go look at that sometime. The corn is looking great. And we'll look at that someday, but there ain't much to see. Everything else is just kind of the same old, same old. The Dodge is still here. You can see that. And other than that, we have some equipment changes coming up. Not tomorrow, but maybe the next couple weeks. And we'll go through them when we go through them. But other than that, it's carry on. So thanks again, and we'll catch you guys next time.